Welcome back, gamers. Welcome back. This is another collection video that I'm doing, and this is collecting for the Sega 32X. We're going to go a little in depth in the system. That actually was a peripheral that you can fit on top of your Sega Genesis Model 1, Sega Genesis Model 2. The only thing it couldn't play in was the Sega Genesis Model 3 and the Nomad. But it did play in the Model 1, which is the original Sega Genesis, and the Model 2, which was a more slimmer, sleek Genesis. In my opinion, the first Model 1 was more attractive to me than the Model 2 Sega Genesis. Not taking nothing away from it, because it's just as good of a system. It just was more slim down version of the Sega Genesis. And I like doing these videos, these collection videos, because my brother, Unlimited Production, loves when I do collection videos, amongst the other brothers that I'm affiliated with, you know, in gaming. So, guys, yeah, we're going to get into it. I'm going to show you the games that I collect for the 32X. And also, I'm going to give you a look at the system itself. And also, a little surprise that is really a really key part to when you're collecting, you know, for these vintage, old school gaming systems. You know what I mean? If you can find them in that way, it's definitely worth collecting for more, because the value of the system goes up. The more complete you have of something, the more the value goes up, and if it's in mint condition and good. You know what I mean? It depends on also what games you have for the system. What type of game that came out for the system becomes a rarity out here in the world of collecting vintage video games. So we're going to start with some loose carts. These are loose carts that I acquired very cheap from flea markets. Now the other games, I will tell you where I got them if I can serve my memory right. Some of them I will tell you. But they all didn't cost me that much at all, to be honest with you. I actually got good deals on them, or I did like a trade or something like that a long time ago. But now a lot of these games have definitely went up in price. Definitely went up in price. They have, some of these games have become very expensive, especially if they're complete in its box. It's way more expensive and a little harder to collect for. Versus loose carts. Loose carts you could probably get a little cheaper than having it being complete. So let's get into it, guys. So I'm going to show you some loose carts here. These were great games that came out on the 32X, and the first one we got here is the Star Wars game. This is the Star Wars arcade game that was on the 32X. And notice the cartridge is a little shaped a little different than a regular Sega Genesis cartridge, and it's actually, I like this one a little. I like it a little better. They add a little bit more creation to the cart itself. Not really too much when it comes to the front art cover. It's not too bad. It says 32X over here, which is really cool. But yeah, I got this Star Wars, I believe, at a flea market for about $3 a long time ago, dude. A long time ago. Some of these games that people have when they go to sell stuff at the flea markets, they're like dumped in bins, mixed in with movies, music CDs, sometimes cassettes. Sometimes they just dump it in there and they tell you a certain price when you pull it out. But this was not that bad of a price at all. The Star Wars game for the 32X has definitely went up in price. I didn't do my research on it. I don't know how much it has went up. I'm just going to do a theory, maybe over $30 for some of these games, especially if they're not complete. Sometimes when they're not complete, they're $30. And then when they are complete, it can jump up an extra $10 to $20, depending on, like I said in the beginning of the video, what game it is. So that is Star Wars. This is a great game for the 32X. Next one we have here is Virtual Racing. This is another great game for the 32X. Not a bad game at all. The Virtual Racing on the 32X is probably the best version. Now, they do have a version of Virtual Racing on the Sega Genesis, and I own that too. It's a little bit more of a tall cartridge. They actually, for some reason, they made it tall, so it's probably like around that big versus the 32X. So probably around about that big. And I have that too. And that cartridge, believe it or not, only played in certain Genesises. I don't believe it played in the Model 2. I don't think it could play in the Model 2. For some reason, it only played, I believe, in the Model 1 Sega Genesis. I forgot why, but that cartridge sometimes doesn't play in the Model 2. I don't think it plays in the Model 3, and I don't think it plays in the Sega Nomad. Only the Model 1, which is kind of a disappointment. But the 32X Virtual Racing was actually the best version, in my opinion, of Virtual Racing. This cost me a whopping $4, which is not bad. The next one we have here was a little bit more expensive, okay? Because I did get this off of Amazon from a seller. Now, he didn't charge me too much. $15. I've seen it for more. This is Zaxxon. This is the Motherhead, I think it says, or I can't remember. I can't really see it good on here. Maybe I'm reading it wrong. The Mother Base, I think it's saying. If I'm saying it right, I don't know. And it's Zaxxon 2000. We'll put it that way. I have seen this go for not better, but higher prices, just cartridge alone. I've seen it for over $50, $60 range. And this is more of a rare game for the Sega 32X with this Zaxxon version 2000. It was a little more. It's more almost like kind of like, I don't want to say 2D, kind of like a 3D almost, a little mixture of 3D graphics in it, but it's actually pretty good, kind of, blocky. The blocky graphics were like dominant in the 90s, you know what I mean, and stuff like that, but it's actually a pretty decent game, and it's not easy. It's not an easy game. You'll start over and over again because it's a little challenging, but this is definitely a gem to collect for the 32X. Is the Zaxxon 2000 game for 32X, which isn't not a bad game at all, and it has a little bit of a cool art cover on the front of it. Now, those are the only loose cartridges I have. So what we're going to get into now is we're going to get into the games, and I'm not going to try to make it too long because I want to show you a couple other things that 32X came with when you acquired it. It has arcade quality. 3D graphics. You know what I mean? It's a really cool system. You know what I mean? It didn't do good at all because the Sega Saturn was right behind it, so it kind of got released at the wrong time, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Because the Sega Saturn was right around the corner, so it became an epic fail in a way to some people that collect gaming. To me, it's not. I'm a Sega collector, and I appreciate what Sega has brought to the table for us in the early years of collecting, in the early 90s, 80s, into the late 90s. I'm very thankful for what they have done when it came to gaming. So what we're going to get into real quick is I'm going to show you some boxed games. Now this game was $8 actually at the flea market. A lady was selling it, and I paid $8 gladly because it's complete in its box. Not a great game. It's okay. A lot of people hated this game, and this is Motocross Championship. A lot of people talk bad about this game, but the thing about it is that 32X made their games in the cardboard boxes. That's what it looks like. It's in mint condition. You can see the price of $8 right there. You know what I mean? It's okay art cover. It's not really nothing spectacular to look at. On the back, details of the game, and it's not that bad, guys. It's not that bad. The mechanics in the game, yes, they're a little challenging, and they might make you like pull your hair out if you have any. You know what I mean? But it's not that bad. But these games came in a cardboard box, and let me see. Yeah, they came in a cardboard box, a little slip thing that actually pulled out, which is kind of cool. Like this. The thing about these cardboard boxes, man, if you didn't take care of them, they fell apart easily. And as you can see, the game is in there. You see the little 32X logo right there. You know what I mean? Just a slip cover, you might as well say. And then the cardboard box right here. And then in the background, if you can see, there's the booklet. I don't want to really just take it. That's a black and white booklet. It went cheaper because they went with cardboard. So the black and white booklet is probably cheaper than making it a color one because it probably costs more for cosmetics. But that's what it looks like, guys, in there. Yes, it's a little roughed up because whoever owned it, maybe they didn't, really take too much care of it. But yeah, it comes in its little slip cover right here. And that's what they look like, the 32X, covers. So the next one here is Tempo. Now this isn't a very expensive game. This game goes over $100. I picked this game up for $15 a long time ago at the exchange. This is called Tempo, and this is actually a really, really good game for the 32X. Really cool graphic on the front right there. Kind of looks like Bonk, don't it? A little bit like Bonk's Revenge, like Bonk. You know, he kind of reminds me of Bonk, kinda. But it's a really cool like action adventure game with like music. Like it has like different like music tempos in it that play along in the game. And that's the back right there. Beautiful graphics for the 32X. Beautiful, beautiful graphics for the 32X, man. But this is one of the ones that are a gem in my collection because it's actually up in value. I've seen it for over $100. You know what I mean? And I think the cartridge alone was like $50. But I have it complete with everything inside. I believe I do. And I'm not going to take every game out. But this one is in better condition. As you can see, the box is in better condition. You know, it's not all really bent and messed up. But I love to keep my stuff in pristine condition because if I go to sell this someday or hand it down to my son if he wants it, I want him to have it in the best condition there is. And as you can see, the booklet is in the background right there, and you can see through there, you know, which is pretty awesome. So this is in way better condition. The value of Tempo will go up if you are to sell it. You know what I mean? So yeah, that is Tempo for the 32X, and I need to put these somewhere so I don't get overloaded here on my desk. All right, the next one here is another good game. It's Shadow Squadron. This is another pretty decent game, kind of like an on-rail shooter. That's Shadow Squadron. It has a nice cover. As you can see, it's in really mint condition, not really any bends, tears, or rips. And I just love the quality of the cardboard boxes that the 32X came in. Very colorful, very cool, kind of retro 90s stylish, you know, cover art and case. You know, and on the back it gives you a description of the game there. I'm not going to take it out, but you've seen how they look inside like I showed you with the other one. So that is Shadow Squadron. Next one we got here, and I can't remember. I think that was $10. I can't remember, guys. Metalhead was actually $5. I got at the exchange a long time ago. Metalhead in its case was $5. Now these games, like I said, it went up. These are probably over $30 to $40, maybe even more, $50 to $60, because I didn't do my research yet on the value of the games today in 2023. But this has a nice art cover. The box is in mint condition. Has a nice, you know, drawing of a mech on there and a mech in the background there. But it's a decent game. Metalhead is actually a decent game. People that done videos on Metalhead said that they liked the game. Some of them said they kind of couldn't get get into it. But it's a decent game. It's a decent mech game for the 32X, and that is Metalhead. And then on the back there's a little description of the game, as you can see the graphics and all on what the game looks like when you are to encounter and play it. Now this game here is actually a super gem. I got this for $25. It was definitely worth it. It's over $100. I seen it way over $100, $130, I believe, is the last price I seen. And this is actually a weird shoot 'em up. There's not many shoot 'em ups on the 32X. I believe this might be the only one. I have to do my research, and this is called Clippery. Clippery is it's a very weird shmup game, and you're like a bird. You're this type of like parrot-looking bird, and you have to shoot other strange like creatures or birds. But this is called Clippery. It has a very, very awesome cover on there. It's very cool the way it looks, but this game is very sought after, and it's very expensive, man, if you want it complete in its box. I've seen it for over $100. If you get the cartridge, it's going to cost you at least $50 for the cartridge if you can find it in mint condition. But Clippery is definitely a gem for the 32X, and it's definitely well sought after. Complete in box is Clippery for the 32X, man. A weird shmup game, and I'll show you the back of it if you can see it a little bit. Some of the graphics of the game, you know, is on. It's very weird music. I love games like this. it's a very creative game in my opinion that has been made from Sega, man, and it's just awesome, man, and I love it, and I'm glad I have it in my collection because it's definitely worth collecting for, and it definitely has went up in price. Great gem of a game. This one here was only $3. It has some writing on it because somebody decided to write on it for some reason. I don't know why, but it is Sega Sports Golf Magazine Greatest Holes. So I picked this up in box, complete, for a whopping, I believe it was $3 at the exchange a long time ago. And people just wrote on here Toe Jam and Earl, and they wrote like I guess a code on the back. You know what I mean? I can't erase it. I can't do anything because if I try to get this off, it's just gonna ruin the cover, and it's already kind of ruined because it has writing on it. But if you trying to take ink off of cardboard boxes, that especially are in game cardboard boxes, you're gonna ruin it and you're gonna take the value of it down even more. So that is a golf game on the 32X, and it's not bad. I actually tried it out, and it's not bad. It's not a bad golf game for the 32X. The next one we have here is a great game, in my opinion. A lot of people hate this version of the game, but it has went up in price. It is the 32X game Doom in mint condition and a great cover. So that is Doom for the 32X. A lot of people hated this game, hated it, because it was boxed. That's all you could see. They didn't like the music in it. They just hated the version of the 32X. I thought it was a pretty decent game, not because it's Sega. I thought it was just a cool version of Doom. And this is for people that didn't own a PlayStation or, own a Sega Saturn. And let's say they had a Sega Genesis and a 32X. And if they wanted to experience Doom, this is the only way they had to do it. And as I said, they did a great job on the artwork. id on the front. Now we own Bethesda, ZeniMax, and it's pretty awesome, guys. It's pretty awesome. Great case also. On the back, you can see some of the graphics of the game, which is not bad, I'm telling you, in my opinion, but, other people will probably argue that it wasn't the greatest, and I'm not saying it is. But if you wanted to experience Doom and you only had a 32X Genesis, this is the only way you're going to experience it on the 32X. And yes, this is definitely went up in price. I'm going to say around maybe the $50 mark. That it's probably in its box. I would say around $60 or about $50, $60. You might be able to find a tape for $30 or $25. It all depends on the seller. But that is Doom for the 32X. This is another one that is actually a gem. A lot of people hated this game. They did. It's a different type of a fighting game. It's different. Like, one of my favorite fighting games is Eternal Champions on the Sega Genesis, and my favorite is the one for the Sega CD. I own them both. But this is Sega trying to be different again, which is really awesome. This is called Cosmic Carnage. This game is also sought after and is a gem in my collection, and it is worth some money today. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it's over $100. I'm going to say maybe in the $50 to $60 mark. In the box, maybe about $70. It all depends on where you go. You could probably get it cheaper. I'm just throwing out numbers to you because I don't know exactly the price it is today. I would say it was around the $50 mark, and that is Cosmic Carnage on the 32X. This is a really decent, weird type fighting game. People said this is one of the worst fighting games they ever played. This is just a thing. People don't really give games a chance. You know what I mean? Once you learn the mechanics of the characters in the game, you can find some fun in this fighting game. And I think it's pretty cool. It has really cool graphics for what they tried to do for the 32X. Trying to up the ante, trying to stay up there with Mortal Kombat and different things like that. But yes, it is Cosmic Carnage for the 32X. And it is not bad and is in mint condition. So this is another one that's a kind of a weird game and sought after game people want to have in their collection because they heard so much about it and attention about it. When people hear like a lot of negative things about games and how cheesy they are, that's when they want to collect for it more, in my opinion. So yeah, that is Cosmic Carnage. Alright guys, I'm going to show you these last round of games. Now what I did with these games is the boxes were so messed up so bad. They were messed up so bad that I can only save the front of the cover and stuff of the artwork for these games. So what I did is I had extra Sega Genesis boxes, and what I did is I actually put them and cut them out, the back and the front, and this is Space Harrier, and I put them in a Sega Genesis case. It might take the value down a little bit because I had to alter it, but it was that bad where I had to alter it. And if I could save the artwork of the front of the original cardboard cover in the back, that's what I'm going to do. These games are still worth a lot of money. You know what I mean? It is complete in a shell, so some people might be like, well, they'll give you, a little bit more for it. And it came with its book, and there's the game right there. Space Harrier is a fantastic game for the 32X. Actually, it's probably arcade perfect almost. But that is Space Harrier, a very sought-after classic for the 32X. And you could probably get this around the $20 to $25 range. If you're lucky, $15 cartridge only. But that is Space Harrier. And as you can see, it has great artwork on the front. That's one thing about some of the Genesis front covers, of the boxes. They had great artwork. And then on the back, it shows you a little bit of the game in detail and stuff like this. This was a very, very addictive game. A lot of people played this over and over again in the early 90s in the arcades with Space Harrier. Very, very memorable game. Very, very awesome game to go back to if you want to live some of your old nostalgia days. The next one we have here that was on the 32X is Virtual Fighter. Virtual Fighter on the 32X, which is pretty awesome. I liked it. Some people say, they argue about it, I had to put this in a case also. You know what I mean? But I put it in a shell case, and it's in a case, so I have it where it's complete. You know what I mean? It doesn't have no booklet with it, but I put it in a case, made the artwork for it, just to preserve it. And that is Virtual Fighter for the 32X. We'll give you a little look of the back right there of the game. If you guys played Virtual Fighter, you know that it was one of the best. Actually, it's my favorite. Believe it or not, it's actually my favorite virtual game, virtual 3D game. It's not Dead or Alive. Dead or Alive is my second favorite. My first favorite was always going to be Virtual Fighter 2. That is my favorite Virtual Fighter game ever. I like 1, I have 1, 2, and 3 in remix, but my favorite is Virtual Fighter 2. So that's another great one. Another good game that is on the 32X that is expensive, up in the $100 range. A very sought-after game is Knuckles Chaostix. This is another game that's very sought-after on the 32X, is Knuckles Chaostix. And this is a game where you have to pair up with another character, and you guys have to share and get each other up in levels to get to the bosses that are in the game. Beautiful graphics, beautiful color. They did an awesome job. This is a great game. You have to get used to the mechanics of the game, though. You have to get used to the mechanics of the game because you're not just one person playing. It's you with another character, and you have to work together to get through the game. So that is Knuckles Chaostix for the 32X. Man, this game is a very expensive game. It's another gem to actually own for the 32X. A little bit of the graphics back there for you right there, but it is Knuckles Chaostix had his own very own game on the 32X. Another great game, guys, to add to that 32X collection. 2 more games, and then I got to show you something, and that'll be it for today, guys. Another kind of sought after game. It is a 32 meg power game. It is Mortal Kombat 2 on the 32X. Now people say, why would they do that? It was on the Sega Genesis. But it also was on the Sega Saturn. My favorite version is on the Sega Saturn because the Sega Saturn version of Mortal Kombat 2 comes closer to the arcade version. When it comes to sound effects, music, and sound and graphics, it's way more close to arcade perfect if you own it on the Sega Saturn. Definitely worth collecting for the Sega Saturn. But the Mortal Kombat 2 also did very well on the 32X, where it had more sound effects, better graphics, friendships, everything was in this game. And they made it better because it's a little bit more power than a 16-bit. So that is the back of it, artwork on the back, you know what I mean? So you got more of Mortal Kombat 2 in the 32X version versus the Sega Genesis. Better graphics, better sound. And yes, this is a little bit sought after. I'm going to say it's probably around in the $40 to $45 range. Now, complete in its cover, I'm not sure. It might be a tad bit more. I'm not sure. But that is Mortal Kombat 2 for the 32X, guys. Last but not least, this game was a whopping $5. But I wanted to own it because it was complete in its case here. Is this one I had to cut? No, it's not one that I had to cut because I think later on they did bring them out in these plastic shells. This is NFL 94 season QB team NFL quarterback club for the 32X. Whopping $5, but I wanted to own it. If I found anything that was 32X, it didn't matter if it was a sports game, I bought it. And actually, it's not a bad football game, in my opinion, by acclaim. And that is NFL quarterback for the 32X. And yes, it is complete in its entirety, and that is pretty awesome. There's a lot of people that love the sports games on Sega Genesis. Back then, Sega Genesis beat it Nintendo hands down when it came to sports games, especially with Madden. The Genesis destroyed the Nintendo. That's not being mean, that's just true. When it came to the Madden games, the sports games period, the Genesis was it. If you were a big sports fan and you like sports games, they bought the Genesis, hands down. It was the best Madden experience you can have for a 16-bit era. So, the next thing I'm going to get into right now is I'm going to show you the 32X, guys. I'm going to show you the 32X. This is it taken off of the Model 2 that I showed you guys a while back. But this is the 32X system that actually connects to a Sega Genesis Model 1 or Model 2. Kind of, the thing I got to say about Sega is they really made some really, like space age type, consoles, man. Like ahead of its time, the way they wanted to try to make it look like a futuristic peripheral or console. And they did a fantastic job, in my opinion, with the 32X. It's very, very compact. There was even a 32X that actually looked like a Model 2 system. It was actually a system that never came out. It was just where you just put 32X games in like a regular Sega Genesis, but it didn't make its way out because it did poorly and it fell. It failed, and I think they scrapped it. But they were going to make a 32X system like a Genesis, and it never came to fruition. But this is the 32X right here. The hookups are on the back that you will hook through your Sega Genesis. It comes with its own adapter, power plug, and everything. But that's what it looks like. If you want it to sit higher, you need to put this on for it to sit higher off of your Genesis. Right there, to sit properly on there. And yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty sleek, huh? Pretty nice, man. Not really too much to talk too much about the peripheral of the 32X, but this is what it looked like. And last but not least, I'm going to show you this. This is actually makes this thing worth collecting for also. If you can just get the peripheral with the hookups and the connections that go to it, I'm very proud of you because it's hard to find some of these pieces. If you can find a 32X and it doesn't have any pieces, what do you have to do? You have to go online and find the pieces that hook up to the Genesis and everything. And those cost because people know you want those to complete your 32X, and it's going to cost you probably in a $25 to $30 range even for just getting the peripheral connections, because I've seen it, and that's crazy. I was lucky to actually get a 32X in its entirety, and here is the box for the 32X, guys, right here. This is the box that the 32X would come in. It's a little bit dusty because I have it put away, but that's what the box looks like of the 32X. It shows you on the back some of the games that were coming out for it when it released back there that you see. The box is in mint condition, but it has a little wear and tear on the lettering and stuff because whoever owned it, I guess through the years you get condensation, moisture sometimes, and that would happen, but it tells you, the 32X power and performance, 40 times faster than a 16-bit. 32,768 Can't see that. Simulation colors. Full library of new 32X-bit 32X games on the front. It says it is compatible with all Genesis units except the CDX. Now the CDX I don't have. I don't have the CDX. I would love to acquire one of those, but that is probably going to be very expensive. But I do not believe this works on the Model 3 and on the... It works on the Model 2, but I believe this does not work on the Model 3 Genesis. I think the Model 3 Genesis came out after this. I got to redo my research, but it does not work with the Model 3. It doesn't. Because I tried it, and it didn't work. And it definitely doesn't work with a Nomad. You got to remember, you got to hook this thing up to a power plug and plug it in, too. You know, and you're going to look kind of weird playing it on your Nomad like that. And it doesn't work. I'm pretty sure it does not fit in there. And if it does, it doesn't work. But this is what it looks like, guys. This is what it looks like. You know, which is really cool, and I'm glad to have it in this. And the lady that actually sold me this, she didn't want to give me the box. I'm like, if you're selling me the 32X, why don't you want to give me the box? Well, I just want to have it for display on my... I'm going to have it for display, you know, on my, you know, at my place here in the flea market. I'm like, no, I want the box. I don't want just the stuff. I said, no. Why would you have it on display if you don't own another 32X? It doesn't make any sense. She's like, well, I guess so. You're right. So she gave me the box. I was like, if you don't give me that box, I'm not buying it. You know what I mean? And she didn't charge me too much. For the 32X, she charged me $50, which wasn't bad. In box. With all the connections and everything. So that's not bad to acquire the 32X. Right now, if you want a 32X, it's going to be way more than $50, especially in the box. I think it's over $100. You know, but yeah, that's it in a box. And I don't think there's too much to see inside, guys, because I want to end the video. But there's like, it's just a cardboard shelling that it came in. You got to remember, they tried to make this. Oh, wow. Well, I'll show you guys real quick. They tried to make it cheap. You know, they don't. This is what it looks like and came inside. It was like an egg carton kind of cardboard. You know, it came with some, you know, some like writer's instruction manual. Sounds cool. Like it says Game Players Magazine. If you wanted the Game Players Magazine. So it came with different advertisements in it, directions that were inside there. You know what I mean? What was it? Sega Power Strip. You know, just different things to promote more, you know, more product that came out of the Sega family back then. Which was really cool to get all this stuff with it. All this stuff that came with it, which is really awesome. Get $10 back melon coupon. Everything is in this box and in its entirety, which is really cool. Connect an original Genesis model. Even gives you directions on how to do all of that. You know what I mean? And these things here, guys, believe it or not, these are the things here. These metal pieces, for some reason, are very expensive. Now, you have to hook this through the Genesis, the old Genesis. I forgot what for. I forgot what it was for. That you had to hook it up through that for. And here, and like I said, these are like gold. You have to have these. And then here's a couple of the connections. This is actually goes to the Model 2 or Model 1. Some of the connections there, and you know, different things like that. I can't remember what this goes to. If this goes inside, I can't remember where this goes. I think it goes under the bottom of the to keep it sealed or something. The 32X. But that's what it looks like, guys, in its entirety. I'm going to put this box away now. But, you know, to have everything complete with this. Oh, yeah, and again, look at that. An old Sega Visions card where you can, you know, register and probably get goodies. You know, Sega Visions was a great magazine. I actually have some of those magazines. And one of these days, guys, we're going to take a look at my vintage Sega magazines. Take an in-depth look at some of them because I still own a couple of them. I don't own a lot, but I have. I think I have one or two downstairs, you know, in my basement. Yeah, let me put that bad boy back in there and close it up. But that's all I have for today, guys, for collecting. you know, for collecting vintage games. Like I said, the 32X, in my opinion, I thought it was a great system. A lot of people didn't like it. The Sega Saturn was around the corner. I gotta fix that later. The Sega Saturn was around the corner, and people were looking like forward to the Sega Saturn and forgetting about the 32X. But it had a good run. If you go on YouTube, some people have done excellent documentaries on the 32X, guys. So this is Sega Man signing off with another great collection game collecting video. If you're interested in a 32X, do your research first. If you have a Sega Genesis and you want to experience these games, try to find a good place that will offer them at a good price, and make sure you have all your connections and everything. If you want to become a retro collector and experience the games of yesteryear in the 90s and the early 80s, alright? Alright, this is your brother, Sega Man the OG Collector, out, and I will talk to you guys soon. Have a great week, and I'll see you guys soon, alright? Peace.